In my first video, I went over what type of channel this is going to be. In this video, I'll give a hopefully brief description of how I fell in love with the game of basketball. Now, I'm a diehard Lakers fan, have been since 1996. I started out watching the Bulls dynasty grow, since my oldest brother, out of 4 brothers I have, 2 older and 2 younger, he was a huge Michael Jordan fan. And after watching casually for a few years, I fell in love with the game, just as MJ was starting to take over the league and the Bulls were beginning their epic championship run. I rooted for the Bulls because I hadn't really become that familiar with any other teams, primarily because in those days, cable wasn't available in the rural area where we lived, and DirecTV wasn't a thing, yet. Jordan was amazing, so he was usually on TV, and especially once he started winning championships. Now, just as Jordan was winning his first ring, I finally was familiar enough with the game to pick a favorite player of my own, and that was Clyde the Glide Drexler. Now, I knew he wasn't as good as MJ, but I loved his all-around game, and how he could get white hot, how he could orchestrate the game on both ends of the floor. I also liked Charles Barkley, but my second oldest brother was such a big fan, and we had a bit of a rivalry over our favorite players. When Shaq came into the league, being an 11-year-old boy, I was immediately drawn to this mountain of a man who made average players look small. Yeah, I watched his movies, I listened to his music, and I played his video games. In short, I was obsessed. But I didn't really have a favorite team yet. As Drexler's career waned and Shaq began to break out, I shifted my focus to the Diesel. My grandmother lived in Florida during the winter, and she would tape Magic games on VHS and mail them to me. I know that's a very old-sounding sentence. Now, I loved getting those VHS tapes in the mail, and when Shaq faced off against Clyde and Hakeem in the finals, I was more devastated for Shaq than I was happy for Clyde, at least at first. Now, once I got over my disappointment, I was very happy to see Clyde finally get his elusive ring. But I still hadn't picked a favorite team yet. Now, I wasn't quite into the Magic, more so just Shaq and Penny. And when Shaq was a free agent and chose the Lakers, I was perfectly willing to start rooting for them in place of Orlando. Now, little did I know that a new player would enter the league and capture my imagination. I think it's fair to say that I liked Kobe right away. I saw the passion, the dedication, and the confidence, and the raw talent that he had. And I watched and I waited patiently for him to get his proper chance. I rooted like hell for him to get into the starting lineup, and I knew when he got the chance, he'd make the most of it. By Kobe's 3rd season, he was my favorite player, and the Lakers had officially become my favorite team. You see, in 1996, my family was finally able to get DirecTV, which meant that I could get the NBA League Pass package.
Talk about a hole-in-one.
Now, I watched every single Lakers game, including every preseason game and the Summer League. I was obsessed. I began to watch all the pre- and post-game analysis on the various sports channels like ESPN, ESPN News, and the new CNN Sports Illustrated channel, which has since been canceled. I loved the expert commentary by the late, great Chick Hearn, the best sportscaster of all time in my humble opinion. And as the internet grew, so did my love of not just watching the game of basketball, but analyzing it too. I loved poring over the different matchups, had sleepless nights during the trade deadline, eagerly awaited buyouts, the draft, and free agency. I was hooked. When Phil Jackson came to town, I was certain that we would finally turn the corner and take over the league. I even started writing articles and tons of posts on a then prominent Los Angeles Lakers forum called Club Lakers. Gradually, I became as enamored with the Lakers as I was with Kobe. Then, even more. When Kobe demanded a trade, which I understood and sympathized with, I decided I'd root for Kobe and the Lakers. I had finally found my favorite team, and even Kobe's potential departure wasn't going to change that. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed my ramblings. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll be back with some videos on the Lakers' current situation, exactly what I think has gone wrong, and my ideas on how to solve it. Stay tuned and keep living that Laker life.